the guest for further discussion. So Ganesh, a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience, Ganesh?
Hello guys, I'm Ganesh Raghavendran.
Ganesh, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I have unmute myself. Yeah, I've done that. Can you hear me?
Guys, are you able to hear Ganesh? All right. Okay. Seems like they can hear you. All right, Ganesh. So you can proceed.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Ganesh Raghavendran, working chemical engineering professional in Gas Authority of India Limited. I've recently given my GRE examination on May 2018 with the GRE score of 327 and with a split up of 159 in verbal and 168 in quants. And I hail from Chennai. So, and I'm aiming for fall 2019 admissions in MS Chemical Engineering stream. Yes, ma'am.
Guys, are you able to hear me clearly? Ganesh, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, seems like you guys can hear me now. All right, Ganesh. So let's quickly move on. I'm very, very sorry about that little disturbance. All right, Ganesh. So let's. Okay, so can you just take them through your profile and your background once again, Ganesh?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, definitely. I'm a 2017 pass out from NIT Tiruchirappalli. I'm a BTech Chemical Engineering graduate, currently working as a Chemical Engineering Executive in Gas Authority of India Limited. So I started for a preparation of GRE like 30 days, 1 month before May 2018. That is around like March end or something like that. Then I enrolled into GRE Edge learning platform and I prepared for my GRE. I prepared for GRE and Secure 327, and I'm planning for MS 2019 fall admissions in MS Chemical Engineering stream.
All right. I think we were still experiencing the problem while you were speaking, but anyway, let's continue, guys. Are you all able to hear me now? Ganesh, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Seems like it's fixed now. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for staying with us, guys, for being patient and understanding. Let's quickly understand and move further ahead in the online seminar. So, Ganesh, what was your primary motivation for wanting to pursue your master's abroad? Can you just take us through that briefly?
Yeah, like once I landed a job after my graduation in Gas Authority of India Limited, I could see that I wanted to learn more. So my craving for learning hasn't ended. So I wanted to pursue higher studies in chemical engineering field and to I want to explore a lot in nanotechnology or nanomaterials field as well. So I decided on doing GRE and applying for masters in fall 2019.
Wonderful. Most of our audience is also looking to apply for fall 2019. So I hope many of your techniques and your tips would be beneficial for fellow students out here. So
Yeah.
everybody is keen to know your GRE preparation timeline, because you have prepared for 30 to, I think, roughly 45 days at best.
Yeah.
So can you take us through your GRE preparation timeline so everybody can get an idea of how you went ahead with your GRE prep?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Definitely.
Yeah.
Like I started with vocabulary preparation, that is like around 40-45 days before my examination. And then after like 10 days of vocabulary preparation, I could find myself struggling with reading comprehensions, and I was also making some silly mistakes in quant section as well. So I actually needed a study plan and the guidance at that point of time. So I enrolled into GRE H1 month program 30 days prior to the examination, and during the course of 30-day preparation, I followed the study plan provided by GREH, and as well as I also maintained my vocabulary preparation, and I garnered around 1,000 words through different sources, GREH, WordBot, Barron's and Kaplan sources as well.
Okay, all right. And so can you tell us what exactly would one day of your GRE preparation look like? How many hours did you spend in a day for GRE prep and so on?
Yeah. So what I did was for vocabulary preparation, I devoted around like 2 to 3 hours actually. So in a day, I used to prepare 45 words. I write down 45 words from GREH WordBot and Barron's PDF and Kaplan's PDF. I could see a lot of words are common between GREH WordBot, Kaplan's and Barron's. So I just neglect the common words and I just write them once in my notebook. I prepare 45 words in a day, and in the next day, how many ever words I learned the previous day, I revised them once, and I write the sentence against each word. If you type the word in Google, you will be shown the meaning of the particular word in Google dictionary, as well as along with the sentence with the usage of the particular word, right? So you can use the sentence and write the sentence against the, each and every word, so that you will be exposed to the usage of the words as well. So every day before preparation of vocabulary, I used to revise all the words that I have learned previously, even if it may be even 45 words or 200 words or 300 words, how many ever they may be. I used to revise all the words before starting with my new set of words. Then I will be indulging in the study plan practice. That is, my SFAs in GREH have provided with me with the study plan, and they have also provided with the timeline, like 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day. And in the weekends, I'll be devoting much more time, like 4 hours or 5 hours.
Okay,
for
so
a
that's
study
what.
plan.
Okay, so did you split these 2 hours equally between verbal and quant, or how did you go about it?
Yeah, like for me, quants were relatively easier than verbal. So first, I focused on verbal completely. As I finished the verbal section first, and I was starting with the preparation for RCs and preparing the material, preparing through mock tests and questions. I was also focusing on quants later. That is like some 15 days before the examination or so. What I did was, even though I was relatively comfortable with quants, I faced some difficulties. I made some silly mistakes because I was not well aware of all the concepts in some areas, particularly geometry, probability, and statistics, which cover concepts from our basic 8th standard, 10th standard maths. But you need to brush it up once, like before knowing what it is actually before applying them. So some 15 days before examination, I started with my quants preparation. But I started with my verbal preparation well before that.
Okay, so that means as an advice, how would you advise students who are looking to take up their GRE in the next 30 to 60 days? How would you advise them to get started on their planning of their GRE prep?
Yeah, so what I would advise the GRE aspirants is, like most of the GRE aspirants struggle with verbal section more than quant section, is what I have seen, and I myself have struggled more with verbal section only. So there are three primary areas in verbal. That is text completion, sentence equivalence, and reading comprehension. In text completion and reading comprehension, vocabulary plays a major role, and in reading comprehension, time management plays a major role. Right. So first we need to master the vocabulary. We need to start well ahead with vocabulary to cover RC and text, sentence equivalence and text completion questions, because we need to make time for reading comprehension to manage time. We need to manage time for RCs, but first we need to make time for RCs by mastering the text completion and sentence equivalence questions. So first start with vocabulary preparations, like start with 45 words per day. 15 words from GREH wordboard, 15 words from Barons, and 15 words from Kaplans each day. And as I said, every next day, you write the sentence against each and every word which you have learned the previous day. Right. So 45 sentences you write each day for the words which you have learned the previous day from Google platform. And once the Barons and Kaplans sources get exhausted, like Barons 400 Barons 333 and Kaplan's 400, I guess. So once they get exhausted, you start with completely with GREH wordboard. So you can prepare all the 45 words from GREH wordboard, and you follow the same technique, like search Google and get a sentence. GREH provides a sentence actually. Wordboard provides a sentence for each and every word, right? So you can write the same sentence against each and every word once you learn the word from wordboard. So you start with the vocabulary preparation first. Then after doing vocabulary preparation, you take some couple of mock tests in text completions and sentence sequence. You can finally find yourself improving in these sections, because in RC you need time to analyze the paragraph. In text completion and sentence equivalence, if you do not know the if you do not know the meaning of the word, or if you do not know the meaning of the options, any of the options, then you cannot answer the question. So you need to know, you need to master some vocabulary for tackling these questions, like sentence equivalence and text completion. So once you are confident enough with sentence equivalence and text completions and vocabulary, you proceed with RC. So then in RC, what you can do is first skim through the complete paragraph. Like it will give you an idea. So when my SFA told this idea to me, it seemed absurd at first, because what I thought was, okay, by skimming through the paragraph once, how can one get the idea of all the passage, like idea of the whole passage? How can one remember when after skimming through the passage once? But it will be really useful, because once you skim through the long passage, which has like 3 or 4 paragraphs, and you look at the questions which follows them, you can actually identify the locations where you can find the answer for the particular questions. Like if you skim the whole passage and you see the question, you can immediately identify, okay, I have seen the reference to this particular word or particular work in the passage in third paragraph. So you can immediately look into the third paragraph. You just need to focus on the third paragraph for the question, and you can answer the question. So for long passages, skimming through the passage once is absolutely necessary before looking into the questions. For short passages, which has like 1 paragraph or so, you can you can analyze the paragraph thoroughly in the first reading itself, because it doesn't consume much time as it is a short passage, and you can proceed with the questions. These
Wonderful.
are for
Okay. All right. So as a GRE aspirant, I'm sure everybody, when they start preparing for GRE, they come across certain challenges, right? So what were some of the challenges that you came across?
The first one was vocabulary, definitely. The approach for vocabulary is simple, actually. That is simple and straight. You need to practice every day. So the practice and self-motivation is needed, actually, because you people have come to a point, like in the college time, where your parents won't be behind you, motivating you all the time. So since it's just 30-day preparation time, you need a lot of self-motivation, because it will consume a lot of your time and you may feel tired easily. So you need a lot of self-motivation during the process, and that is one of the challenge. And vocabulary was definitely a challenge at the start. You need to practice. You may not feel the result at first, but you will gradually feel your performance improving in RC and sentence sequences, sentence
Okay.
sequence questions. Yeah.
All right. So RC was, I think, RC is definitely, a very, very common challenge that I find amongst aspirants. In fact, I'd like to ask the audience here, how many of you guys find reading comprehension to be challenging? Wow. Me says Muskan, Sanjuli, Ashish absolutely says Kunal, Shravani, Abhishek Datta, Subhashri, Nandakumar, Tanu, very challenging, says Tanu, very hard, says Dhanush, nightmare for me, says Rajeshwaran, wow. Just the long passages, says Annapurni. It's not challenging if you practice every day, says Nishant. Wonderful, Nishant. Yes, challenging, says Mayur. Yes, RC, it takes too much time, says Madhur. So I can see it is something which is commonly experienced among GRE aspirants. So how did you rise above this challenge, Ganesh?
Yeah, I certainly faced difficulty with RC at the start. So, as I told earlier, you need to make time for RC during the examination. Even though time management is difficult in RC, first you need to make yourself sure that you tackle sentence equivalence and text completion questions with ease and with pace to make yourself enough time to tackle RC questions. So, when you come to RC questions, as I told you already, there are two types of passages, long passages and short passages. So how to approach them, I have told you earlier. What you should do every day, what I did every day was practice 5 to 6 questions from any sources. Like after in GREH learning portal, I practice a lot of reading comprehension questions. Apart from that, I also practice questions from Manhattan 5LB book, which provides a great source for reading comprehension questions. So from these two sources, I prepare for reading comprehension some 6 to 5 questions. So what you have is like you have like 2 minutes time limit or 3 minutes time limit for a long passage, and for a short passage around like 1.5 minutes time limit. So you try to fit yourself within this time limit. That comes through practice. So every time you practice, you note down the time. You try to pace it up little by little. So 6 questions per day, and you have got like 30 days. Giving the last week completely to mock test, you still have like 22 days with you. So during when you can actually practice RC questions, 5 to 6 questions every day from any source, like from GREH learning portal or from Manhattan 5LB book. So it will be easier for you to keep yourself it will be easier for you to pace yourself according to the GREH questions difficulty, the RC questions difficulty and everything.
All right. So did you face time management as an issue when you were preparing for reading comprehension?
Yes, I certainly did face time management as an issue. It was my biggest problem. So when you approach long passages, do not panic. So that was the first mistake which I did. People usually panic by looking at the length of the passages, right? And moreover, GRE passages usually have subjects which are more complex, which you do not encounter in day-to-day lives. Even though people recommend you to read newspapers and all, the passages which come in GRE examination, the subject of the passages are more of like complex and more of like alienated to you, right? So what you can do is you do not panic and give the whole passage a read, like the whole complete passage, all the 3 to 4 paragraphs, a quick read, and go to the question. So you will feel a bit confident after giving a quick read. You will have an idea what the passage is about and where to look for the answer after looking into the question. So the common question which people face problem is, what is the idea of the passage, or what is the author trying to imply, or something. These type of questions need analysis of the passage, right? So people usually take a lot of time for these questions, and they struggle with time management. So if you give a quick reading of the passage, you will get an idea. Once you get an idea, relate your idea with the options. If you have a conflict with more than one option, like if you think that 2 options seems more appropriate, like seems more appropriate and correct, and you have conflict between those 2 options, it's okay. Like, since you have gone through the passage once, you know which paragraph of the passage reflects upon the idea of the passage. So
Right.
you go through that paragraph once again, and you can easily get the idea or analyze. You can get the idea or the theme on which the author is focusing on. So you can
Absolutely.
get that idea after going to the particular paragraph of the passage. This is only possible if you skim through the long passage once. Do not
Right.
panic and skim through the long passage once. It's okay if you do not understand the passage in one go. It's okay, because GRE doesn't expect you to understand each and every sentence in the passages. They just want you to look into the passages and extract ideas, enough ideas to answer the questions,
Right.
right? So there may be a lot of unnecessary details which may be given in the passages. They may be given as a complex sentences, and it's okay if you do not understand them. Just neglect them. Extract the main ideas from the passage by going to the passage once, by skimming through the passage once, and you will get an idea on how to tackle the questions or where to look for the answers in the passages. This way you can manage time. And this doesn't come in one go, so you have to practice this technique again and again, like with 5 to 6 questions per day, at least for 20 days, to pace according to the examination.
Wonderful. I think this is something that we call the skim and scan technique, right? Where you skim and then you look at the question and you scan for the exact location in the passage where you can find your answer. So I think that is a very, very effective technique, guys. I hope some of the things that Ganesh has mentioned will definitely make a difference to your reading comprehension challenges. So do apply them, and you will definitely find a difference in the way you approach reading comprehension, right? So wonderful tips shared there. Thank you so much for mentioning these tips, Ganesh.
Yes.
Let's now move on to the quantitative section. Okay, now everybody knows that GRE Quants, especially for students from whoever is taking the GRE in India, they find quants to be specifically easier than the GRE verbal. So they try to get maximum score in the GRE quants, which is actually possible to get as well. So Ganesh has scored a whopping 168 in his quants, right? So from your experience, Ganesh, what are the things that you need to essentially do to get a wonderful score like this in GRE quants?
So in actually the main difference between verbal section and quant section is, in verbal section you need to know the meaning and analyze the sentences just to know the answer. You may be there may be 1 or 2 correct options or something like that, but in the quant section you can be sure of answer, because you work out the problems and you can get only one answer out of that, right? So you can be sure of the answers in quant, and that makes it an easier section, because you just need to practice. You need not analyze the question so much as you analyze the questions in verbal. So what I found difficult, what I struggled with in quant section was geometry, probability, and statistics.
Right.
The arithmetic sections comes with practice. It's basic arithmetic sections like ratio, proportion, or the time-related questions, speed-related questions, or arithmetic expressions, which when you practice, you can actually get the answer. You can do the math and get the answer easily.
Right.
For geometry, probability, and statistics section, what one need to do is know the concepts first, because in geometry, even though there are a lot of approaches to find the angles, the unknown angles given in the figure, like which may be asked as a question in GR examination, but there are some certain concepts which will help you immediately figure out the answer, like the traverse to the parallel lines, corresponding angles, supplementary angles, alternate angles. The concepts of these types of angles, and then in probability, what is mutually exclusive events, what are independent events. So these types of concepts in geometry and probability, one need to be familiar with before they approach the questions. And in statistics as well, what is variance, standard deviation, and what is how they relate with mean. So these types of questions, when you encounter in GRE, you may struggle with them because these concepts you have read, you have learned those concepts in your school time, 8th standard or 10th standard, but you just need to brush them up. You might have forgotten them, so you need to brush up those concepts to make use of those concepts in questions. Right.
Okay.
So I found quants relatively easy for me, and I was scoring around like 163, 164 in my mock test. So I came across maths notes, I could see that lot of things which I have been unaware of, and so I started making notes. And after making notes, I solved the problems provided by the learning portal, and I could actually get my errors rectified, and I also learned a lot of shortcuts, and I also became strong with my basic concepts in these sections. In mock test, I scored around like 170 a lot of times, but in examination, I made a silly error and scored 168. So I am sure that if you guys follow the same technique, like mastering the basic concepts of geometry, probability, statistics, particularly, and practicing the arithmetic expression related problems and geometry, probability, statistics problems, and practicing them again and again, you can actually get good marks, really score at least 165 plus in quants, and you can even expect 170 quants. So and the thing is, in quants, you can, if you practice a lot, you can actually have a lot of time to review your answers. So when I was writing GRE examination, I finished my examination. I finished my quant section 10 minutes before the given time. So I had 10 minutes to review all the answers. And even on reviewed answers, I made a silly question. I made a silly mistake and got 168. So if you follow this method, like to manage, you can easily manage your time in quants by practice. Through practice, you can get the answers easily, and you can have ample amount of time to review your answers, and you can have a short of 165 plus or even 170 in quants.
All right. So I have a question here from Mohammed Imtiaz. He says, I always take too much time to solve data analysis questions, and at least one among the three goes wrong. What do you suggest?
Yeah, so I struggle with data analysis questions initially, actually. So the data analysis question, what you need to do is to read the graphs, and the questions which are posed against the graphs are actually easier. So if you look into the question, they are nothing but arithmetic expressions. The reading the graph will give you, your ways of reading the graph will give you an edge over other students when it comes to quant section. So when people look into the data analysis section, look into the graphs or pie charts, what they do is they get overwhelmed by the images and the figures given in the charts. Like the pie charts will have like the percentage and the numbers, the large numbers. So the students usually get overwhelmed by the numbers. But if you do not panic, and if you look into the question and you record the data actually, so if look at the question, look at all the three questions once. The data analysis usually has three questions related to one graph or so. So look at all the questions. If all the three questions are relatively easier, which you can get immediately by looking at one value or solving a small arithmetic expression, you can neglect the other values. Like sometimes the questions are related to only one graph out of the two graphs provided. Or if the questions are much more complicated, like they have asked you to find a mean of, the average of everything, like something like that. If the pie chart or if the graph is given with the percentages, you have to convert it to numeric value, and then you have to find out the mean or the average, right? So you just look into the question, you see what the requirement for the graph is. So my suggestion would be go with the easier ones first, which takes less time. Like, okay, how many percentage of this is this, like that. So you can just make a small arithmetic expression, focus on only that value, the section which is asked in the question. Do not try to figure out the values for an entire graph. Do not get overwhelmed by looking at it. So you just look into the particular section, particular value which has been referred to in the question, and you work on that. once you solve the easier questions out of the 3 questions, you make time at least like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes. It may take 1.5 or 2 minutes time for solving the difficult questions in data analysis section. And if you think it will take more time for you, you just mark the question and finish all the remaining questions in quant section and come back to it later after finishing all the questions. If you feel that it will take a lot of time, if you feel that it's overwhelming for you, just leave it at that, leave it for that moment and come to it later.
Actually, that's a very important tip, because when you practice, you already know what are some of the time wasters, right? You know what are some of the types of questions where you will end up spending a lot of time. So as like Ganesh mentioned, it's very important that you already are aware of your strengths and weaknesses. And if you encounter these questions and if you feel like it's going to take a lot of time, wait for a while. Just go back to that question later once you've completed everything else, because you don't want to lose out on precious time in the middle of your exam, right? So I hope that will solve most of your data analysis problems. So I have some questions from students regarding how did you solve the geometry problems. So can you shed some light on geometry specifically, since you also faced a difficulty with geometry?
Yeah. So in geometry problems, I struggle particularly with triangles section and and sectors in circles. So what I would suggest is to know the basic concepts of similarity and congruence of the triangle. That is mostly focused on in GRE type questions. Similarity of triangles and angles subtended by the chords in the circle. So there are like some theorems, like if the largest chord is diameter in the circle and it always subtends 90-degree angle on the arc of the circle, on the circumference of the circle. So these type of basic concepts or theorems you need to know before tackling questions in geometry. In this area, I owe it to GREH Learning Portal because it provided me with an extensive notes of theorems and concepts in geometry regarding the triangles, regarding the circles. So they had a section called triangles, which was really useful for me, which provided me with a lot of concepts and theorems, which I was aware of, but I forgot about it. Like you would have studied it already. So when you look into it, those theorems, those basic concepts once again, you will be able to, you will be able to remember it again. Okay, you will be able to relate it with your 8th standard or 10th standard maths, and you can grasp it immediately. So what I would suggest is for geometry, you absolutely need to go through the basic concepts first before tackling the questions. Because some questions will be much easier if you know just one theorem, right?
Okay.
Rather than like solving to a complicated method, it will yield you the answer, but it will consume time. But if you know a particular theorem, it will just take like less than 10 seconds to get the answer. So you need to know the basic theorems regarding triangles and circles, which are the main focus point of geometry type questions in GRE examination. And traverse cutting across the parallel lines is also one of the common type of questions which is encountered in GRE examinations. So triangles, circles, parallel lines are like most common type of questions you encounter in GRE examination. And these type of questions, you need to know the basic concepts or theorems relating to these shapes to ace the questions.
All right. So when you made mistakes when you were practicing the geometry questions, how helpful were the feedback that you received from your personal trainers?
Yeah, it was really a great feature in the learning portal actually. So the LPF methodology, that is to learn, practice, and feedback. Out of that, as soon as I learn the material, learn the notes provided by them, I practice the questions provided by them, and then when I practice the questions, I make some mistakes, and SFAs were promptly responded to my submissions, and they figured out where I made the mistakes actually and which area I need to focus on. So it gave me a head start with the preparations, like because during quants itself, like in quants itself, during the practice sessions of quants, I made a lot of silly mistakes in statistics and triangles and circles. So they just gave me a feedback like on how to focus on the concepts or theorems, like or how much time to spend on the concepts and everything. So I was able to rectify my mistakes according to their feedback, and as well as in RCs. So RCs, I struggled a lot, and the feedback provided really helpful for me. Like because even though I was able to see where I made the mistake, they actually gave the feedback gave me an idea on how to rectify them, on how to more easily go through the passage and get the extract the idea out of it, like how to easily extract the idea out of it, rather than like struggling to, I mean, going through the whole passage again and again and struggling to find the exact location where the answer lies.
All right, all right. So I'm really glad to hear that their feedback helped you to improve and work on your challenges and ultimately conquer them, and help you on your journey to your score. So on that note, guys, how many of you guys are looking to get a score like Ganesh Raghavendran? How many of you guys are looking to get a 320 plus in your GRE? Me says Vishal, me says Nishant, Sneha, Muskan, Siddharth, Pankti, Neha, I really hope so, says Vibha. Me too, says Jyotsna. Of course, why not, says Aditya, Pavitra, Rohit. Wonderful. I'm really happy to have seen this excitement, and I'm sure, Ganesh, you have inspired them in a lot of ways in today's discussion. Well, on that note, guys, we here at GRE Edge would love to be of any kind of assistance in your journey to your target score, just as we were a part of Ganesh's journey. So let us know in what way we can be of assistance by quickly answering this poll I'm about to launch. Let us know if you seek any kind of assistance, be it GRE prep, admissions counseling, TOEFL prep. If you'd like to talk to our student counselors, I can provide an opportunity for you to do that as well. If you want to discuss your GRE preparation, your strengths, weaknesses, and how to take your GRE preparation forward, then do let us know by typing in me in the chat box and let me know. And I will share a link with you all in private to, talk to some of our student counselors. I can also see a lot of students have shown interest in the GRE preparation program. Just type in me in the chat box if you are really interested to start your preparation immediately. I can share a link with you in private where you can avail some special discounts as well, owing to success of a lot of 320 plus scorers here at GRE Edge. All right, so Tanu says me, Rishabh says me, Smita, Tejanka, Vibha, Gopal, just give me a second, guys. I'll quickly share the link with you, and you can fill in your name, your email ID, and your contact number in the link provided. All right, so I've shared the link with you all. Just open this link in your favorite browser, your Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, or the Internet Explorer, and just type in your name, your email ID, and your contact number. And you will also be eligible for any kind of offers available at this point of time. Or if you'd like to speak to our student counselors and get a proper plan on how to take your preparation forward, you can do so as well. So can you quickly do that and type in done and let me know so that we can move on to the Q&A session. You can post your questions here that you have for Ganesh, and we can quickly take up some questions before we end today's online seminar. All right, Ganesh. So we have some questions coming in for you. So let's quickly take up some questions before we wrap up today's session, Ganesh. So we have a question from Neha Gupta. She says, how to tackle probability questions?
Yeah. So in probability type questions, you need to understand like what are the types of events. So the mutually exclusive events, independent events, such type of concepts you need to be aware of before tackling the probability questions. So permutation combinations also plays an important role in identifying the probability. So when you are strong with permutations and combinations, probability is a dependent branch of permutation combination. So my advice would be is to master the permutation combination where it is actually used. So where combinations are used, where permutations are used. When in case of arrangement, permutations are used. When arrangement is not necessary, combinations are used. So having this in mind, you can actually get the total number of events possible through combination or permutation, and the number of events required for which probabilities are asked to calculate. You can get it by again from permutation combination, and dividing them both, you get the probability of the event, right? And also remember, when I gave the GRE examination, I experienced a question regarding asking about, okay, these two events are mutually exclusive events, like, and this is an independent event, something like that. So those terms you need to be aware of before answering the probability questions. Once you are aware with permutation combinations and the types of events that can occur, you can actually go forward with practicing probability questions, and with practice you can master them.
All right. So I guess that answers your question, Neha. So let's quickly pick up a couple of questions. I can see a lot of questions coming in for AWA preparation. So can you just summarize how did you prepare for AWA, just to answer a lot of questions coming in regarding that?
Yeah. So AWA, just have in mind there is a simple rule called 5-passage rule. So 5-passage rule, that is, the first passage has introduction, the last passage has conclusion, and the 3 passage in between has the body of the writing, like the body of the in between 3 paragraphs has the body of the passage, right? So what you can do is, there are 2 types of AWA questions. One is issue type and one is argument type. In issue type, you will be given an issue and you will be asked to give your opinion on that particular issue, right? So in the introduction, what you can do is, you can actually state what the issue is and which position are you in according relating to the issue, like which opinion are you giving relating to that issue. You can state that in introduction itself, and in the coming passages, you can state with a general statement. You need to give examples supporting your claim, right? So for the next 3 passages or 2 passages in issue type questions, after introduction, you can give examples relating to that issue, related to your opinion about the issue. And before giving that example, give a general statement relating to that example, right? For example, what I can say, if I'm saying that newspapers are getting replaced by many online sources or something like that, that is an issue put forward, and your opinion on that is, you need to present both the views in GRE. You need to provide both the views, and you should logically compare between them. So you can actually give examples, like there are many like what the news channels which have online websites and everything. So before giving this example, you can give an introductory statement that in this information era, where Internet of Things has become a popular concept, every information known to human has become available in the internet. So this is a general statement which you can give before giving the example of the online news channels or something like that. So before every example, give a general statement relating to that example for in the 3 or 2 paragraphs of the body of the passage. And first one is an introduction, where you give a general statement that is in the same, like in this modern era, like where everything is available online or something like that. Start with a general statement. So every paragraph, before the conclusion, if you start with a general statement, it will look good rather than directly getting into the point. You start with a general statement and slowly go into the example for the opinion you are giving regarding the issue. And the conclusion is similar, like conclusion similar to introduction, but you should not put the same words. You should not use the same sentences as you have used in introduction. Give a small general view the current state or something like that, and give your opinion and end the passage. This is for issue. For argument, remember, in argument, you shouldn't give your opinion. So in argument type questions, they would have given an article or about an issue or something like that. You just need to provide evidences